A letter to the President of the United States from an American.
President Trump, America is far greater than is dreamt of in your philosophy. Gold leaf on the wall, military parades, giant banners with photographs of ourselves, Nobel Peace Prizes, commemorative coins, and souvenir slogan red hats made in China do not at all capture our greatness. Those things are all the trappings of your own lack of self-confidence. America's greatness is the height of our accomplishment, despite the depth of our human fragility. We've done many terrible things to our own people and others, but the first human beings to touch another world were Americans. Although we left our flag behind, we slipped the bonds of our home world, not in the spirit of conquest and fear, but in the dream of peace and exploration. Because we are Americans, we have become greater than we were. I've watched over and over while you've tried to shrink the definition of who can and who cannot be an American. Not only did Ronald Reagan speak directly and forcefully against this philosophy, but Jesus Christ did as well. I know that despite your claims and rhetoric, you are a stranger to Christ. I would invite you to change that. If you won't accept my guidance, I know others not far from where you are now who will help you discover the depths of Christ's love, but also the unimaginable depths of his philosophy. If you cannot accept Jesus in reality and in humility, then I implore you to stop lying about it. I don't think you understand the damage you cause by associating the unchristian things you do with his name. My family became Americans because things were better here than they were in our beautiful home. We left the beautiful green hills of Argyle for the fecund flatness of Mississippi because despite its beauty and cultural depth and mystery, America held the promise of hope, and Scotland, despite its ancient history and beauty, had come to represent oppression. My ancestors left their idyllic homes with their possessions in a sack for a world they'd never seen. They never applied for asylum. They never made an appointment with an immigration officer or begged for admission. By your standards, they were illegals taking advantage of another administration's open borders. Borders are open. You cannot close them. Painted black walls and armed but untrained fat men cannot change that. You cannot contain hope. As long as there is hope here, they will come. I'm deeply worried you will make it so there is no hope here. Many other Americans feel the same. People around the world who hold America as a symbol of hope worry for what you are making of it. I hate to be the one to point this out, but the Campbells walked these shores a full century before the first Trump. I should point out that by your standards, Friedrich Trump also took advantage of America's open borders and came here illegally. What a hypocrite you've become. I've come to expect nothing less. What would Trump's left behind think of you? History records that Friedrich Trump came to America seeking gold, not liberty. Perhaps that explains the difference between you and me. Perhaps it explains the difference between Donald Trump and the millions of people he wants to expel. You imagine yourself better than them. You are not. Neither am I. Recognizing that might also be the difference between us. I knew a 90-year-old woman who lived in your building in New York. Her late husband bought the apartment because she loved the view. Being far more famous than any Trump in New York, she told me about the many times you tried to meet her and how she rebuffed you. I asked her why. Ugh, have you seen him? She replied. His father was a slumlord, you know. Criminals, all of them. I never brought it up again. I sought out her friendship because her career had a profound impact on me as a child. I wanted our time together to invoke no sour memories in her. I see where you're worried that the Smithsonian had too many exhibits that demonstrated America's weakness, so you're having your people take over one of the world's most revered and respected museum complexes. Yes, they exhibit the chains of those enslaved here, but they also exhibit the frigate we used to sail to another world in its full enormity. America is great not because we never stumbled, but because we did and sought to correct ourselves. I'm sorry you cannot see that. I suspect you are blinded by piteous hate. Despite your wealth and privilege, you became a man with no sense of manliness. Even though you're older, I became a Republican before you did. I see almost nothing of the Republican ideal in you. I've discussed with other Republicans how you may have destroyed the party forever. America is far greater than is dreamt of in your philosophy. You make people feel afraid so you can feel powerful. I can't imagine anything less American. I've learned to live with, love, embrace, and promote Mississippi, despite its many flaws. I wish that you could do that with America, man to man. I know people were cruel to you in Manhattan. The island is a tough audience. I, too, was a child of limited privilege who was never that popular. We chose very different paths. I chose to dedicate all I had to those weaker than I. You chose to dedicate all you had to prove your worth to those far stronger than you. We both failed. Failure is part of being American. So is learning from your mistakes. I'm aware you will never see this letter. I've written many letters that were never seen by the people I wrote them for. Most were far greater Americans and far greater humans than you. All my friends know this story. When I was a child, I struggled to write. With my mother's help, I wrote a letter to William Mosley, Fishbait Miller, who would soon retire as the long-serving doorkeeper to the United States House of Representatives. He recognized my name because it was the same name as my uncle, who often testified before Congress on behalf of the American small businessman through the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. They ate together and shared stories of Mississippi, their home. Touched by a small boy having an interest in our government, he sent back a large packet of books, pamphlets, and photographs of our beautiful capital. Since I mentioned my baby sister in the letter, he sent her a smaller one. Imagine such an important man reading the letter from a small boy in Mississippi. I suspect he did it because he was once also a small boy in Mississippi. He invited me to visit him where he worked in the Capitol. It just so happened that my father also regularly visited Washington, like our uncle. My mother suggested that we children be invited, as it was summer. While my father and my brothers toured the planes that helped us win World War II, my mother arranged for baby sister and I to visit Fishbait Miller at the U.S. Capitol. Miller led a small boy, his smaller sister, and their mother on a private tour of the marbled and fabled seat of American government. My mother and my sister wore matching coats and hats and white lace gloves. Little sister's little legs and her black patent leather shoes had to move double fast to keep up with us. Fishbait Miller showed me what could only be the halls of heaven itself. Marble, red carpet, and unimaginably important people everywhere we looked. We returned to the Madison Hotel, then still very new and very modern. Baby sister fell asleep before supper. Her poor, tiny legs were worn and tired from trying to keep up with us. I would not sleep again until we returned to Mississippi. I made drawings of the Capitol on Madison Hotel stationery in the bed I shared with my father, while he snored, asleep but close. On January 6, 2021, you had been telling your followers that you won an election that you lost by a large margin. Losing is difficult. Losing is painful. I have lost far more than I've won. I accepted it and tried to learn from it. That is what men do. I'm sorry you could not. You directed them to meet you in Washington to try to prevent the counting of the electoral votes for an election you lost, as is prescribed by the U.S. Constitution. Your followers built a scaffold to hang the vice president you chose if he did not violate his oath of office. This is not an exaggeration. This is a fact. You losing fairly and surely is also a fact, as proven by dozens of court cases and scores of investigations. Like the coward you are, you removed yourself to a place of safety at a moment generations after us will blame you for. Your followers advanced up the steps to our beautiful U.S. Capitol. They beat and assaulted the police assigned to protect it. They broke out the windows and broke down the doors. They vandalized the art, threatened our leaders, and defecated on the floor of the rotunda and in the offices of elected officials. Again and again, Republican leaders begged you to call them off. You refused because your heart is full of pride and evil and no love for America. This is not exaggeration or fantasy. This is a fact. You later pardoned the people who took a shit in the rotunda and beat our police officers trying to defend the seat of America from you and your followers who could not accept defeat like men. Because of my childhood visit to the U.S. Capitol with a man far kinder and more American than anyone in your entire employer family, the images of what you and your evil followers did to our beautiful Capitol burn in me. This was an act of evil perpetrated by people who hate America and what it stands for. I'm sorry that you hate America. I'm not quite sure how it could happen in such a beautiful place. You built an army of people afraid of losing their white privilege. That is not America. I pity you. I pity your followers. I wish I knew how to help you, but I do not. Seek Jesus. He is seeking you. I remain a citizen of America and a child of Mississippi.
Thank you for reading A Boyd Campbell. This is a reader-supported publication. To receive new posts and support my work, consider becoming a free or paid subscriber.